All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and doing it in real time for a few real people out here, just like you and just like me. Before I get going, folks, Patreon, YouTube memberships, Buy Me a Coffee, PJ Rock Super Chats, all ways to support this channel as I continue to try to rebuild something that I had. You may still see the old channel floating around out there, but I have no access to it. So it's a story that I think I've covered here many times. I still get people sending me messages, and I have covered it. So, the bottom line is got to move on. And so make sure you subscribe to this channel as this is going to be my last attempt, I think, at being a YouTube star, which those two words shouldn't even go together. Anyway, Ian Anderson, he's a star, and he's a grumpy old guy. And I like grumpy guys for the most part, especially older grumpy guys. The grumpiness comes from their wisdom, and a lot of times they just get fed up with the way certain people behave, whether they're younger people, whether they're older people who really never matured. Disclaimer though, I'm not a fan of Ian Anderson's political leanings, but he's a bit less toxic than a lot of other people. And right now, he's complaining about something that I agree with. So, the headline reads like this: If you're coming to a Jethro Tull concert, you should probably leave your cell phone at home. Now, this is becoming more of an issue. People are getting frustrated at concerts. I know last year, John Cougar Mellencamp was having a fit, throwing a tantrum, although he was just blabbing on. So that was a bit different. People wanted him to play music. And I think Jethro Tull will just play music. In fact, that's what they want to do. And they don't want to be interrupted, they don't want to be distracted. He says something pretty interesting here. Anything goes in some people's minds, but you've got to have respect for the performers and the sensibility of the environment and what it's about. So, sitting eating popcorn during a Shakespeare play is really not a good thing to do, let alone getting your phone out and doing whatever. So, it does happen even in London and on the theater stage for serious, traditional, and important drama. At concerts, it depends who the artist is and where it is. That's interesting because I thought the Brits were way more sophisticated than us rubes here in the United States, but maybe not. He says, I tend to play seated audiences and I play in the Royal Albert Hall in London lots of times. I've never had people whistling or shouting or being obnoxious in the Albert Hall, but it changes with changing times and changing attitudes towards particularly the use of cell phones and the degree to which people will make a noise of their own, probably not making a joyful noise, especially in the quiet moments. He says he was in Brazil last year and he had forgotten about how noisy the Brazilians can be, and sometimes not in a nice way. Wow. So you could title this video Ian Anderson puts down Brazil, doesn't like Brazilians. I'm just kidding. They'll whistle and hoot even if you play a song and it just doesn't make sense. He says if one person in the audience doesn't like the song, they'll boo. They'll be the only one booing. But people will do that, and it's really, really not a nice thing to do. It is, even if, there are plenty of moments where I would go to concerts and I'd be like, okay, this is really bad. And I would just get up and go to the concession stands, drown my sorrows with $14 beers. Now, this was years ago. I don't do this anymore. I sit there and take it. Like if the guy can't sing anymore, which is the majority of these older bands, I sit there and I go, wow, is that bad? I look at my wife and I go, well, at least I got in for free. That hasn't happened in a while, by the way. But if you're not paying for the tickets, it's helpful because then you don't feel as bad. You can go there as, just a stenographer and write the stuff down or get out your phone. Yeah, you get out your phone and record it. Then you'll have something to talk about later on. Um, he says if you go to a Black Sabbath concert, like the one this summer, with his old pal, cool, Tony Iommi, he says, I expect the audience to be really noisy and loud, but that's okay, he says, because it's Black Sabbath, it's heavy metal. So what he's saying here is certain bands or certain styles uh, are more likely going to be interrupted by lots of noise and activity. But he says if you're coming to a Jethro Tull concert, so he's laying down the law here, much like Don Henley does with the Eagles. He says, I think you should probably leave the phone at home or at least in your pocket. Now, nobody today is going to leave their phone at home. It's because it's become like a binky, like I've got to have this phone with me at all times. It records everything I do, like how many steps I've taken today, what my heart rate is, what my cholesterol level is. If my kids need me, I need to have this phone because, quite honestly, there's no other way to contact someone. So, yeah, for security reasons, it's probably a good thing to have your phone on you. So, I would probably do the second part of what he is suggesting here and have your phone on you, but keep it in your pocket. I forget what concert I went to. I think it was Toto and Journey. And there was a lady next to us. And I don't know how she enjoyed the show because she was just like, okay, all right, they just started Africa, so I got to record this. All right, I'm going to record it. And it's like the whole song. And I'm just watching everybody on stage. I'm looking at the guitar player, who is, of course, Steve Lukather. I'm looking at the rest of the band and I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I'm seeing this. I've never seen Toto before. So that was kind of like, I don't want to say it was a bucket list thing, but I wanted to take it all in. I mean, these are legendary people, although not the way the band used to be legendary, but still two or three really great performers up there. And with Steve being, the master of just knowing good music, I respect his choices as far as the rest of the band. I mean, it was a killer band, but the lady next to me didn't really get to see much of the concert. I mean, she did technically through a lens, but it is distracting. And then you've got people now who are either in the front row or they go up to the front row and they turn around toward the stage and they're taking pictures while the band is performing. It's just bizarre behavior. And they don't think it's a problem. Like the people on stage, they're not going to notice all this stuff. And I know there have been a few performers who have just stopped the show and said, what are you guys doing? And called them out. And I think that's appropriate. And then the people get mad on social media. I'm their biggest fan. How could they stop the show? Because they can't focus on the show. They're supposed to go up there and play music, and they got all these distractions, people running around trying to get the perfect shot. Do I look good? Does my hair look good? Certain women do certain things too to try to. I'm not said guys do it too, but women are notorious. I'm sorry, ladies. They're notorious. It's mostly women doing this stuff. Men do some things, I think, to make their wives happy or their girlfriends happy, but typically it's groups of women that are doing these things. So my apologies to the other groups of women who behave appropriately. But Ian Anderson here is just saying, look, enjoy the show. We're here to perform. Take it all in. And what's the point of going to concerts, right? If you record it, do you need to come back and see it again? Well, you've got it on your phone now. So what's the point of coming back? See, you can't duplicate the live in person show experience. You can't duplicate that. You can buy a DVD of certain performances and it's good, but it doesn't take in the entire experience. And hence, this is why people used to go to concerts. Maybe it's why they still go. But I would take his advice. And, as bands get older and crankier and can't relate to the current social media trends, I think you're going to see more and more of this. Even the middle-aged bands that aren't super old but are heading in that direction, I think at some point they're going to say, "Hey, cell phones in your pockets, and you have to watch the show." And it could even start to show up on ticket stubs. Of course, some people will say, "Well, then I'm not going to go because my whole goal was to record this." And this is what's changed. People can't go for a walk now without staring at their phone. And, I go out with my dog and this woman, sorry, she walks around the neighborhood and she's just staring at her phone the whole time. Sometimes she's talking to somebody too. She's just like, rah, 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 rah. I'm just like, so you go outside to get a little bit of sunshine, beautiful breeze, nature. And instead of taking all that in, you're just going to look at your phone the whole time. So Ian Anderson, I think, here is definitely onto something. And it's not surprising. But if you're going to Black Sabbath, just have a good time, make lots of noise. I notice here he didn't say, get your phone out and record the whole show. I'm sure Tony Iommi won't appreciate distractions here since this is probably going to be the last time that Black Sabbath gets together. And we've been told, by the way, that Ozzy is going to be there, okay, but we don't know how much he's actually going to do. So still, if you're going to go see that, interesting. I'm sure it'll be a good thing to see, and people will be recording the whole thing on their phones. All right, so that's the video. Yeah, it's kind of a slow day in the world of classic rock, at least so far. But if you want to support this channel, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube memberships, and PJ Rock Super Chats. He is the Super Chat King. In order to dethrone him, you're going to have to send a lot of Super Chats out. So thanks to PJ and everybody else who supports this channel. God bless everyone, and God bless all the cranky old guys out there that are getting tired of all of the social media noise, which is just nonstop.